Hello and welcome to Jump To It for IrishRacing.com and Betting Expert. I'm Shane Anderson, and today we're previewing the big day, the big betting day for UK racing, and that of course is Grand National Day from Aintree. It is the biggest betting race in the UK, the Grand National. It's also one of the great racing spectacles. And to preview the card, it's great to welcome Stephen Harris, Ed Quigley and Vincent Finegan once again. Guys, great to catch up. I'll start with you, Stephen. Going into the Grand National, we've had two really competitive days of racing at Aintree in the lead up to this, but there is something very, very special about the Grand National, and I know you've been fairly bullish about the favourite Cloth Cap all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, it's still the day we're involved in racing every day, aren't we, Shane? So it washes over you a lot of the time, but Grand National Day is the one day you wake up and you are quite excited and have butterflies. I mean, obviously you've got everybody you ever knew in life suddenly emerging from the woodwork looking for tips from about 7 o'clock in the morning. And then, of course, your name's absolute mud on Facebook afterwards when you fail to name the winner as though it's a crime, you know. Everyone's falling out with you. But no, it's a cracking day's racing, and hopefully Cloth Cap. Some of our listeners might be on at double-figure prices. Hopefully you can give us a good run for our money.
Yeah, I think you've done a great job in finding him as the value runner, well and truly out from the event, but now going into the race as one of the shortest price favourites we've seen for quite some time. Ed, good to catch up with you once again. What's the Grand National mean to you as a race?
Yeah, really exciting, isn't it? As I say, it's a slightly different spectacle compared to going right back in the day, and even more recently, you look back at the days like Party Politics and Mr. Friskel and those kind of. That was when I probably started first getting memories of the race, if you like. Obviously, most famously, probably Garrison, Savannah, and Seagram would be the one where actually, after what happened at the Elbow there, I used to line up all my toy cars and name them as horses when I was little, and after that, there was always the big slow one, which engine would crash, would be Garrison Savannah, and the tiny little thing would be Seagram that would come past it. But yeah, great days, great memories, and it's a wonderful spectacle. And it's also worth noting, me being a little bit of a purist, I do still like the Grade 1 contest, and there are some good Grade 1 supporting the action as well. Yeah, it should be a terrific day on the Saturday.
And of course, with your toy cars, the Lamborghini would have been crisp, zooming off out in front of all the others and just running out of petrol late in the piece.
Yeah, something like that, it has to be said. Yeah, absolutely. Great days, really exciting races. You say, Stu makes a good point. Yeah, we come in the racing bubble a little bit. You kind of forget that so many people literally turn the television on to watch horse racing literally just for the 5:15 at Aintree on a Saturday. It's still that once a year spectacle. Everyone's it's to say your phone starts going off as if I've got some unbelievable insight which no one else has in a 40 runner handicap around crazy fences that I must know. Have you had a tip? Has there any inside info? All those old phrases start coming out. But it's great. Really looking forward to it. And this year's race looks absolutely thrilling. Yeah, credit to Stephen. He's obviously for months now been saying that the value angle of Cloth Cap, which has gone now, there's a chance that bookmakers could trip over themselves to try and get each other on the day, and he could slightly drift purely through a few kind of special terms and things. So worth keeping your eyes on that to see if he heads north of 4-1 on the morning. But really looking forward to it now.
And Vincent, great to catch up with you once again. In Australia, we're big supporters of handicap racing. Of course, the Melbourne Cup on the flat is our big race down under. But there is something quite special about these big handicap fields, great racing, and a spectacle like what the Grand National can offer. Are you a big fan?
Oh, a huge fan. Always been. I suppose anyone who's involved in horse racing has always got a soft spot for the National. The fences used to be the thing. It was how remarkable they were, the chair and the canal turn and the rest of it. Now, I know they say that they have cut them in half probably over the last 20, 30 years for safety purposes and everything else. But I was only listening to a piece from Rachel Blackmore there yesterday where she was saying when she rode a horse for Mouse Morris a couple of years ago, her first ride in it and her first time ever at Aintree, that when she arrived at the track, she couldn't believe how big the fences were. So in comparison to what they're normally jumping, these are still very big obstacles. You're talking 40 horses as well, which makes it even more difficult. And then you're talking about 4.25 miles, which makes it virtually impossible, I suppose. But what's incredible for me from a betting angle is how it's changed down the years. Like I can remember as a young child, admittedly, but Red Rum winning the National and those sort of races, that anyone who had a bet, you only got paid on the first 4. Now you see that the first 7, 8, some of them will give you the first 10. Like the value there is something completely different. And going back years ago, it's probably the same for a lot of these casual once-a-year punters. people don't just back one horse; they're backing 4, 5, 6 horses in the one race. So they're just hoping to catch the winner, is what it is. And it doesn't really matter about whether you win or lose. If you back the winner, that's the big thing. So hopefully we can pick out a few here to give someone a chance today.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to what should be a great day of racing. Day 3 of the Aintree Festival, Grand National Day. All right, guys, with our preview today, we're going to focus on races 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We'll drop races 1 and 7 because we are waiting for updated betting markets to come through. But let's start with race number 2 on Grand National Day. And this, of course, is a fantastic contest, the Grade 1 Betway Mersey Novices Hurdle. And there's big expectations around a couple of key runners here, including the favourite My Drogo, now into as short as 13-8 with William Hill. Ballyadam, Ed's old mate, at 3-1. Drill Deal certainly well in the market there at 7-1. And then we get out to double figure price. Manila Drama currently at 10-1. Stephen, let's get your assessment here on race 2. Which way are you looking at this stage?
Well, it's isn't it? Potential of My Drogo against Ballyadam, who's done it and got the form in the book. I mean, I was very keen on My Drogo. He's actually my nap on Saturday, but I do think he has shortened up. I wouldn't want to take less than 2-1. He's run 3 times over hurdles. He was green and raw in a slow run race at Newbury, but picked up smartly to win. He then followed up and then went up to Kelso, up to a Grade 2, and he was really impressive in a very strongly run race. Dropped out last, sauntering clear on the long run in there. The extra 2 furlongs is a huge plus. The long Aintree Straight is a big plus. His stable is absolutely flying down. He's trying to win the Jockeys' Championship for his brother Harry. So this one's been laid out for Aintree. He comes here fresh. He's missed Cheltenham. Everything's right for him. The only thing that's gone wrong, Shane, is the price. He was 7-2 earlier in the week. He's now about 15-8 best by the look of it, and that might come up. I think he's going to be very hard to beat, but personally I'd want at least 2-1 in a race of this nature to have a good bet.
All right, My Drogo on top from Stephen, but hoping for 2-1 or bigger. What are you doing here, Ed?
Yeah, I think Stephen summed that up pretty well. I think this is between the top 2. My Drogo's a smashing horse. I backed this horse anti-post for next year's Marsh Chase. That's kind of my angle. I think he'll be an absolutely cracking 2.5 mile chaser. Really is a nice time. And I actually think Ballyadam will be a really nice smart chaser next season. Purely on value grounds, I did think Ballyadam was going to turn up in this, and there is a slight worry this could be an afterthought. However, I just think the price differential between the two could be a little bit wrong at the time of filming. That's my reason for Ballyadam, really. Going back and watching that Supreme again, look, it wouldn't have got anywhere near appreciate it. However, Jack Kennedy was absolutely motionless and absolutely tanking coming to 2 out until he made that absolute Horlicks, and he nearly came off the horse, didn't he? Basically, lost all chance there. And to his credit, he really battled well, I thought, after that huge blunder. Jumping is clearly an issue with him. Even when he won the Royal Bond at the top level, he made fiddly mistakes. He sprawled on all fours at the Dublin Racing Festival. He clouted 2 over the Christmas period. Just wonder whether that step up to 2.5 miles might just help him find his rhythm a little bit more, it has to be said. And I think it's between the top 2. I think My Drogo is more of your old-fashioned, what will be a really good chaser next season, really big, strong, strapping type. Ballyadam, I think, has got a little bit more natural zip. And I think 2.5 miles on what will be drying ground will really suit him. It's essentially, I don't think there's a great deal between them at this stage, between the top 2, but price dictates. And I think Ballyadam up in Rachel Blackmore on some decent ground. For me, at the price is Ballyadam.
All right, you make some good points there. Vincent, which way are you looking at it?
Well, the first thing is My Drogo. I think there's a case for saying that he really is a chaser. He's a rapid improver. He could be better than these. That's a possibility, but probably it'll be over fences rather than hurdles. Ballyadam, I agree with Ed. I think that the longer trip here could be a help to him to settle better and jump better, because there's definitely, you can pick holes in all of the runs recently. For a selection, I'm going to go a little bit left field here with Drill Deal. This horse has only £3 to find with Ballyadam on official ratings, so not that far off it, and he's another absolute rapid improver. He came out of the point-to-point field. He was placing a couple of point-to-points before Ronan McNally got him, and then Ronan McNally had him for a year. He was running them in race after race, and then he realised that the handbrake was still on, so when they finally got the handbrake off, away we went. And he's unbeaten since his first run. They backed him from 20, or the first time he won, back in September, backed him from 20-1 to 6-4 when he was rated 84 over hurdles, which is just unbelievable to think he comes in here. He's 145. But he's still improving. He was a big price the last day when he won. I think there were some negatives coming out of the yard prior to that day, which he'd been, I think on the Friday he was about a 6 or 7 to 1 chance. He ended up winning at 22 to 1 on the Sunday. Just there were some negatives around him, but since then everything seems to have gone right. They decided to skip Cheltenham and come here. He was entered up in several races. This is the one he's picked. He'll be there or thereabouts. This is a rapid improving horse.
All right, good push there for Drill Deal. I'm with the My Drogo camp. I just think he'll be able to stalk the speed here, and I'm expecting him to finish off stronger. But it should be a fantastic opening contest here of the feature races on day 3. Let's recap the team selections across the board. Ed with Ballyadam, marginally ahead of My Drogo. Stephen's in the My Drogo camp, as am I, and Drill Deal there from Vincent. Certainly looking a nice option there at a bigger price. Let's move on now to the next of the Grade 1s. We've got the shortest price favourite of the day in Shishkin stepping out here in the Novices, and he's currently as short as 6 to 1 on with William Hill. That is utter domination of a market. Fernamble Civila is next best at 14 to 1, along with Gumball and Elvis Malin, and bigger prices for the remainder of the field. Well, Stephen, it's Shishkin or bust, I think, here in this Grade 1 contest. He certainly looks a class above his rivals.
Yeah, he's done nothing wrong. Perfect so far. Jumps superbly. He'll win easily. I think maybe from a betting perspective, the angle could be to back Elvis Mail without the favourite. The logic there is that Gumball is a tearaway front runner. Funambuli Sivola needs to front run as well. They could spoil each other and get tired when Shishkin cruises past on the bridle. And Elvis Mail is a northern handicapper, but he's progressing really well. He's a strong traveller. His jumping is getting better and better, and he could pick up the pieces late for the forecast or without the favourite. But a race to watch, really, and enjoy Shishkin winning for the 5th time over fences.
All right, Shishkin to win. Elvis Mail perhaps as a value bet for the exotics. What are you doing here, Ed? Are you siding with a heavy go on Shishkin, or are you just sitting back and watching and cheering?
Yeah, sit back and enjoy this. No need to get involved. Shishkin's got upwards of £20 in hand on official figures. Should be a formality. I mean, Gumball will go off, or try to go off like Black Caviar, but will fold like an origami lesson, and that'll be that. And I think Shishkin will just he'll just come through when he likes. You're taking 1 to 6 about him jumping the fences, aren't you, really? There's no conceivable danger, all known form. I think he'll win this handsomely. 7 barrows will put him away, and you'll probably see him in the Tingle Creek next time out. But lovely horse. Really, really excited prospect. You know, we've had the Sprinter Sacras, we've had the Altiors from the same yard, and he looks the natural one to pick up the baton, doesn't he, over the next 3-4 years? So, yeah, Shishkin wins common canter.
Vincent, how far does he win by?
Oh, I suppose you're there. You go. Would you bet the distance? Not particularly now here, but look, it's still a novice chase, whatever way you look at it. So I won't be playing those sort of odds. Now, having said that, we'd Sprinter Sacra won this back in 2012. He was 7s on. Duvan won it at 2 to 13 in 2016. So short price favourites do win novice chases. There's a guy I remember told me many years ago that you can make a living out of backing odds on shots in novice chases. No, I'm not. I never tried it myself. I wouldn't be one for odds on favourites generally, but I certainly won't be backing this horse. But Shishkin will win.
All right, I'm Team Shishkin as well. And across the board, the team for the Grade 1 has this potential superstar of the sport, Shishkin, as the one to beat. The next of the Grade 1 races, guys, is a really competitive affair, of course. It is the Ryanair Stayers Hurdle, registered as the Liverpool Hurdle. And we should have, if they can bring their best form, one of the races of the week. Paisley Park, the marginal favourite, in fact now equal favourite with Time Hill, both at 5 to 2. Roxana's at 6 to 1. Then we get out to 12 to 1 or bigger for the remainder of the field. We were going into Cheltenham, Stephen, thinking that we'd have a great clash between Paisley Park and Time Hill. It didn't eventuate because Time Hill didn't take his place there. Have you sided with one over the other again?
Well, this time I've gone for Paisley Park, Shane. The two reasons are, I mean, Time Hill is a young improver, but he obviously had a setback to miss Cheltenham. I think there was something wrong with his back. They've obviously got it back right. He'll be fine, I'm sure. But Philip Hobbs has been pretty quiet. At the time of recording, he's 0 from 31 in the last 14 days. Now, that might have changed by the time racing gets underway on Saturday, but certainly they've not exactly been flying, and a horse off a setback. The thing with Paisley Park is I thought he didn't get a wonderful ride at Cheltenham, to be truthful. He was parked 6 wide, and he hit that flat spot, and suddenly he was well out the that not off the pace, but he was parked in a poor position. He rallied incredibly well, turning for home, and I thought he ran very well. Now, apparently, they're going to front run. Now, that may or not, I think that will be a good thing. The long straight at Aintree should suit him. I think he could take a bit of passing here if he's able to dictate on his own, and maybe they'll avoid hitting that flat spot that proved so costly. But at the prices, I think 3-1-ish Paisley Park is just about a fair price. Maybe something will come from out the woodwork and improve past both of them, but they look to have the strongest form at this stage.
All right, Ed, what is your assessment here for the feature?
Yeah, I'd be just like taking Stephen on. I just think Time Hill, I think this track will suit Time Hill more than Paisley Park. Yeah, it's interesting listening to Emma Laval's thoughts on they're going to mix tactics up. And her view is if Paisley Park's going to hit a flat spot, they'd rather be turning into a home straight in front rather than having to pass the whole field on a tight track round Aintree. And I can kind of see the logic of that. But I think Paisley Park's just stare at 3 miles. Time Hill's got a bit of boot at 3 miles. Take on board the Philip Hobbs form might be a little bit of a worry. But he's not really had any but like rock solid horses to go to war with in the last couple of weeks, if you see what I'm saying. He's had a few kind of also rans of in the stable, for want of a better phrase, being well beaten. So I think Time Hill, the track will suit, the ground will suit. Didn't obviously missed Cheltenham with his small muscle injury in his back, I believe it was. So in a way, that could be a blessing in disguise because a few of these had tough races. If I just wanted to mention one at a massive price, which is really interesting just for the jockey booking, Jack Kennedy. It's been booked driver Ollie Murphy on Thomas Derby. And if you go back about a month or so, those of you with really long, boring memories, remember I was saying I was really hoping that Thomas Derby went for the Stayers Hurdle and not off top weight in the Coral Cup. Well, they went the Coral Cup route. He got held up in an absolute traffic jam, and it all ended in a shambles. Been harping on all season, please run this horse over 3 miles. Well, I got my wish here. Jack Kennedy's definitely an interesting jockey booking. I think this is a horse who is unexposed, and a lot more will be to come from him over staying trips. But essentially, on percentages, I'd be with Time Hill. And I'll probably do the each way play on Thomas Derby to run into the places.
Good insight there, and I think you make a really good case for the horse at the bigger price. What are you doing here, Vincent?
I agree with Ed. I think Time Hill, I think the track suits Time Hill better than Paisley Park, all known. Now, different tactics with Paisley Park, maybe we'll see a different result. But realistically, any horse that has these flat spots like Paisley Park, I'm against. I think Time Hill will win. I think having missed Cheltenham is a bonus, realistically. And the other thing I'd say about the races, I see Roxana is third favourite. She's not one for me. I don't think she's up to this level. I think Paisley Park and Time Hill now are definitely a couple of notches ahead of Roxana, so I wouldn't be fancying her to pull a bit of a surprise against them. I think it's between the two, and the fact that Paisley Park may hit his usual flat spot, may not perform after Cheltenham. I'd be thinking Time Hill's probably worth a bet. Okay,
Time Hill, the push from Vincent. I found on the blind side here at a big price, currently at around that sort of 20-1 quote for the each way. Won his maiden at Aintree back in 2017, failed on a Grade 1 the following season, then had a wind surgery. But I actually haven't minded the form around him this season. And at the price, I'm happy to take an each-way gamble on him. Ed with Time Hill, as is Vincent. Stephen with Paisley Park, and I'm going with On the Blind Side at a massive price there. All right, we move on to the next race on the card, and this is the Betway Handicap Steeple Chase. And Happy Go Lucky is the market leader. Currently at 100-30, Cloudy Glen at 7-1, Top Notch at 15-2, double figures or bigger for Fagan. Well, Stephen, for a handicap chase, traditionally these can be very, very tough wide open affairs, and often you can find one at a big price that can run really well. Have you gone that way here?
Well, I do think the favourite's a very short price here. He had the perfect sit all the way round, and I think David Bass was absolutely staggered that he didn't win. Vintage Clouds kept pulling out more up the hill. So I thought he had the perfect run of the race with no excuses and had a hard race. £2 higher. I think you can look elsewhere. The one I like is Mick Shannon's Hold the Note. Now, Mick Shannon, better known as a flat trainer. In fact, Henrietta Knight really trains his jumpers. He's only got a handful. They all need good spring ground. That's the long and the short of it. And Hold the Note, he's run 10 times over fences without winning. But since he's had the wind operation, he's run 2 blinders. He finished second behind in Rillo at Newbury and then ran a cracker at the Cheltenham Festival, unable to dominate, just weakening up the hill. Flat track, spring ground. He's a really good jumper. I think Tom Scudamore takes over in the saddle on Saturday. I'm hoping he'll make a bold bid from the front. He's around 12 or 14-1.
All right, there's a nice each-way option for those who want to play that way with Hold the Note. What are you doing here, Ed?
No, not a race I'm massively have a strong view on. I just thought of all the gin joints of Colin Tizard. If you watch this horse in the National Hunt Chase, he was still in contention coming to 3 out, and then it's just plainly obvious he did not see out the trip at Cheltenham. He just fell in a hole in the closing stages, but to a point ran very well. He finished third, not being far at all over course of distance back in October. I just think going through the trip angle, I think he ran last time out of a trip that was all wrong for him. Again, you're taking a leap of faith with the Colin Tizard runners. However, when they're double figure prices in a handicap, that's when I'm interested in them, if you see what I'm saying. I wouldn't want to go backing anything from the Tizard team at 2-1 at the moment, but you can get 16, 18-1. Horse was a non-stayer over 3-6 last time out. Comes back to a course of distance, which he was just narrowly touched off in October, and he's still unexposed. It's a tentative pick, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he ran well here in each way price.
All right, the well-named of all the gin joints from Ed. What are you doing here, Vincent?
Well, the first thing is no Irish runners in this race. That's the second race of the day with no Irish runners, which is interesting. For me, I think Happy Go Lucky. I think the Cheltenham run is good enough. Travelled supremely well in Cheltenham, very consistent horse. Possibly just the stamina just gave out a little touch up the hill in a battle. I think this is a different thing here. Flat track, very consistent. And I think the horse can't be far away. I know it's not really an each way price in a race like this, but probably the best one to be picking is him.
All right, happy go lucky there from Vincent. I'm going with Top Notch. I thought his run at Cheltenham was quite good at a massive price, finishing third. He was 50-1 on that occasion. Certainly much shorter here, but at 8-1, I'm still enticed enough to have a bet at the each way on him. Let's recap the team selections now for the handicap chase. And of all the gin joints from Ed, big price there. Hold the note, good value price there from Stephen as well. Vincent with Happy Go Lucky, and I'm with Top Notch. Guys, we move on to the big one. And as I've said numerous times, it is the biggest betting race you have in the UK, and certainly one of the great races on the global stage, and that is the Randox Grand National. Cloth Cap, who Stephen gave us a big push for many weeks back, is now into as short as 4-1 with Bet365. Burrows Saints at 10-1. Any second now. There's also been a good push for any second now over the last couple of weeks going into the Grand National, currently at around 11-1. And Kimberlite Candy next best at 12-1. Well, Cloth Cap, Stephen, you've said in last week's edition that you felt that he was as short as enough now, but just sort of on the eve of the great race. Is he the price that you want to be, or do you expect him to drift out a little bit more once again?
Well, I think, to be honest, Shane, back or lay now, at 4-1, I think you'd probably be against him. In a race with 40 runners, you know, they can miss the start a couple of lengths. He's basically a front runner who jumps well, revels on good ground. He's very well handicapped. He was impressive at Kells, so he should have no trouble staying. I think he is very much the one to beat, the clear form choice, but the Grand National isn't a 4-1 the field sort of race. You want double figures, really, to be truthful. A couple of interest. Any second now, who comes here on the back after winning over 2 miles in Ireland, really impressively. He's unexposed, granted, an extreme test of stamina. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go well. JP McManus has got 7 runners in the race out of the 40, which is quite amazing. I'm sure they'll all run well. Ireland have been dominating, as we know, this season, and I'm sure their runners will go well. The top one's interesting, Bristol Demai, a horse I've probably spent most of the last 5 years opposing after he's won that first race of the season at Haydock in a swamp that he wins every year. But he's a horse that it's easy to oppose at sort of 5-2 in graded races. He's got a touch of class, and he's 33-1 under top weight. Daryl Jacob, who's one of the best jockeys over fences, is riding him. If you wanted to give your auntie something to back at a big price, that one could be the one. I'm sure he'll go really well for a long way. Maybe he won't stay, but 33-1 is a big price for a high-class horse.
Yeah, you make a good case for him, but certainly Cloth Cap, who you picked for us many weeks back, certainly looks the one to beat. Ed, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting for the commentators, isn't it? The 7 JP McManus runners, no doubt. Mr. Hoyle's over here and John Hunt and that, they're going to be swatting up the cap system the night before, being tested on the red, the blue, the dots, the God knows what, because it's going to be easy to get all sorts of horses mixed up here. But yeah, I mean, I won't harp on that. Stephen's made all the points about Cloth Cap. He's a stone well in. He's got his ground. Just not for me in a race of this nature to back a horse at 4-1. So yeah, the horse I tipped up on the show a couple of weeks ago, I still think represents solid each way value here, and that's Annabelle Fly Well, I do think he's a little bit of a forgotten horse in some respects. He's running the race twice. He's been placed twice. When he ran in it in 2018 for the first time, he finished fourth. That was off 159. He then ran in it the following year, finished fifth off 164. Well, he gets in a £9 low off 155 this time round. I think that is interesting. And what's also worth noting is his preparation. When he ran in it in 2018, it was somewhat of an afterthought. He contested the Irish Gold Cup and the Cheltenham Gold Cup, where he finished runner-up going into Aintree, and I think he was pretty much a tired horse. He did brilliantly to finish fourth, it has to be said. Much lighter preparation this time round. Ran in a Bobby Joe chase, came last. Don't worry about that. It was essentially that was just getting rid of the ring rust for him. Different preparation here. He's well handicapped. He enjoys these fences. I think he'll go well. The final point on him is actually Dennis O'Regan's been booked to ride. I actually spoke to Dennis O'Regan to ask him about this ride. And he said in previous years, they've almost raced him with the ambulance at the back. Very patient tactics. It sounds, without him giving too much away, that they may ride him more prominent this time. They almost don't want to get caught in the backwash and kind of trying to eliminate a little bit of the luck, if you like, of having to pass 35 or so runners on the second circuit. So, yeah, I think Annabelle Fly, as I say, he's handicapped to go well. He's proven over the fence. He's been placed in it twice. Ground to be fine. Some people knock the fact he's 11. So I don't see that as an issue in a handicap. I mean, was it 3 of the last 10 winners have been the age of 11? Neptune, Collonges, Pinot de Ray, they were both 11-year-olds. So I think experience in this race can count for a lot. So Annabelle Fly for me each way. But by the time I've had 4 or 5 glasses of Shiraz on the afternoon, I will have no doubt fired a few more into the coffers as well. But he's my main selection.
But you certainly make some really, really good points there about the fact that he has run in that race so well. He is well handicapped. He is proven, in getting around the course, and he does have a touch of class because he has proper Grade 1 form against him back in days gone by. So I think at that price that he is, it's certainly a really interesting selection. What about you, Vincent? What are you doing for the Grand National?
Well, my original choice doesn't run. The Storyteller's out, who I thought would have had a great chance. But I'd agree with Ed. I would definitely switch on to Annabelle Fly. Trained by a genius in Tony Martin, a man who can do anything with horses we've seen down the years, particularly with handicaps. And he's primed this horse twice before for this race. Definitely got an each way squeak. And then Dennis O'Regan is a solid booking. Like he's a veteran of the jockey's room at the moment, but he's riding really well here in Ireland. Ridden a lot of winners for Gordon Elliott in the last year. I could see this being involved. I think it'd be a nice swan song for Dennis in his career to ride a winner of a Grand National, really finish it off. The icing on the cake, it'd be really nice to see. A few others here that I wouldn't put people off. One of them is Magical Light. Magical Light was second here to Tiger Roll 2 years ago. Was only beaten less than 3 lengths and made an absolute howler of a mistake at the last. Was going equally as well as Tiger Roll had looked going into the last fence and came out 4 or 5 lengths down. Looked to be going nowhere at the elbow, but stayed on at the finish. Get a clear round here again with another experienced rider on board, could definitely be a contender. And he's second now is well fancied. Of the Irish is definitely the best fancied horse we have going over. Ted Walsh has won this before. He's another wily character when it comes to these handicaps. And the horse popped up over a short trip the last day and won, but this has been the race for a long, long time. So I wouldn't put anyone off back in any second now. Not a great price at the minute, but look, he's a contender. And then maybe just if the first reserve gets in, a horse called Some Neck, John McConnell's. I know that a lot of shrewd people over here have had small money each way at sort of 40, 50 to 1 over the last few weeks. They'll be a little bit disappointed they're not getting a run at the moment, but if something drops out, wouldn't be surprised to see that run well at a big price.
All right, great assessment there on a few of the runners in the race. Look, I found it... It's almost impossible to say normally, but I actually think it's a battle between 2 runners, the favourite Cloth Cap and also Any Second Now. They're the 2 that are dominating the market at the moment. But my preference is for Cloth Cap. The more I watch his last start win, the more impressed I am, and I think he's so well weighted for the Grand National. It's almost against the grain, tipping a favourite in a race like the Grand National, but I just think he's the horse to be with. All right, let's recap the team selections for the great race, the Grand National. Annabelle Fly is the selection from Ed and also Vincent, now with the Storyteller out. Cloth Cap from Stephen Harris, and I'm also with the Cloth Cap camp, but I've got to give Stephen a big pat on the back for finding Cloth Cap for us on Jump to It many weeks ago when he was a much, much bigger price and now going around as a relatively short price favourite for the Grand National. All right, guys, on the last of the days for the Grand National meeting, 3 days of great racing from Aintree. Let's get your best bets on the card. Stephen, I'll start with you.
I really like my Drogo in the second race, 2-1 or bigger. He's a real nap. I think Hold the Note at 14 or 12 is really good value in the fifth, and maybe a slightly different angle to back Elvis Mail without Shishkin or do forecasts. Shishkin to beat Elvis Mail.
Good luck to you, Stephen. Ed, your thoughts? What's your best?
Yeah, I'll be with Time Hill in the Liverpool Hurdle. I think the track will really suit him. And for Grand National, check for your each way concessions. Again, the bookmakers will be throwing all kinds of 11th hour offers on extra place terms and everything. And I generally do think Annabelle Fly, as I said, he's got the back class, he enjoys the fences, he's well handicapped. I'd be disappointed if he wasn't playing a part as they turn into the elbow. So each way 33-1. Him and Time Hill, two horses, opposite ends of price spectrum, if you like. But I hope they can both go well on Saturday.
All right, best of luck to you, Ed. And Vincent, your best for the big day.
Yeah, I'd be agreeing with Ed. Time Hill is for me. I think that'll win. I think it'll beat Paisley Park. And then in the National, I'd like to see Annabelle Fly. That'd be the one for me. It'd be a nice little fairy tale story there, and be good for the Irish again.
All right, good luck to you. That's our assessment of the big day of racing, of course, being the Grand National meeting. We hope you've enjoyed Jump to It as we've gone through the lead up to the Cheltenham Festival, of course, now the Grand National meeting. Make sure you come back with us as we look towards the flat racing season. We'll be back from April 28 with lots of discussion around some of the big races in the UK, Ireland and also through Europe, of course, as we lead up to the big meetings, including Royal Ascot. Make sure you head to irishracing.com. Vincent and the team do a fantastic job. You get all of the latest form, fields, news, odds and bookmaker information. And of course, Stephen Harris's tips are available at bettingexpert.com each and every day of the week, where you get his nap, his best bet, and of course the value bet for his selections. Good luck if you are betting at the Grand National meeting. We'll see you again very soon here on Jump to It.